All right, today we're jumping into the story of a true rock and roll legend, Ace Frehley. We're going to get into the life and the incredible legacy of Kiss's original Spaceman and really figure out what made him one of the most important guitarists in rock history. I think his bandmates, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, really said it best. They called him an essential and irreplaceable rock soldier. I mean, that just says it all, right? It speaks volumes about the kind of impact he had, not just on Kiss, but on the entire world of music. Because as that original lead guitarist, Ace was really the fire, the soul that defined what Kiss looked and sounded like. His playing was raw, it was innovative, and with that unforgettable spaceman persona, he just launched himself into the stratosphere. He became a true rock and roll icon. So let's explore how he pulled that off. So that brings up a huge question. What makes the original Spaceman just up and leave a band like Kiss right at the peak of their fame? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was actually a whole bunch of creative and personal issues that finally just boiled over in the early 80s. Okay, let's walk through how this all went down. Back in '78, Ace's solo album actually outsold all of his bandmates. I mean, that proved he had serious creative chops and star power on his own. But then, by '79, the band's sound started getting, well, poppier, which was a direction he really wasn't into. The absolute final straw, though, is the 1981 concept album, Music from the Elder. He was totally against it. So by 1982, that creative frustration just hit its limit, and he officially walked away from the band he helped create. And to really get why he was so frustrated, you gotta understand his style. Ace Frehley is the definition of a feel player. He was completely self-taught. His whole sound was built on these bluesy scales and this famously wild, almost out-of-control vibrato. It's a style that's raw, it's emotional, and it's unpredictable. It's not about being technically perfect. It's about pure rock and roll attitude. And he felt that attitude was just disappearing from the band's new music. And this really shows you the massive divide that was growing. I mean, to the public, Kiss was all about rock and roll on night, right? Fun party songs. But behind all that makeup, there was this huge creative split happening. Ace wanted to go heavier, push for a harder rock sound, but the rest of the band was chasing that more commercial pop sound, and that left their lead guitarist feeling totally sidelined. So to really appreciate his legendary status, we need to dig into the incredible legacy of the Spaceman. Because, man, it is so much more than just the iconic makeup. As a founder, Ace Frehley was literally one of the architects of the whole Kiss phenomenon. It was a total assault on your senses, right? You had the otherworldly spaceman persona, these huge, bombastic stage shows with explosions and fake blood, and of course his signature smoking Les Paul guitar solo. You put all that together with monster hits like Rock and Roll All Night, and you created a live show that nobody could ever forget. And the scale of their success, it's just staggering. Kiss has sold over 100 million records across the globe. That makes them a massive commercial force. And Frehley's fiery, unpredictable guitar licks were an absolutely essential part of that world-conquering sound. The range of his influence is just incredible. It wasn't just the glam metal bands like Motley Crue and Poison who were copying his moves. His gritty, powerful style actually inspired heavy-hitting titans like Metallica and Pantera's Dimebag Darrell, and it even reached all the way into the grunge scene with bands like Pearl Jam. His impact just crossed every genre and every generation. And his influence is just crystal clear when you hear how other musicians talk about him. They're constantly reinforcing that idea of him being that irreplaceable rock soldier. I love this one from Bret Michaels of Poison, a band that was obviously heavily influenced by Kiss. He didn't just thank Ace for the inspiration over the years, he specifically called out Ace's guest guitar solo on one of their biggest hits. That's a direct nod to his legendary skill and just how much he was respected. This quote from Pearl Jam's Mike McCready, wow, it's just so powerful. It perfectly captures that lightning-in-a-bottle moment of pure inspiration. For so many kids out there, hearing Ace Frehley wasn't just cool, it was the reason they went out and begged their parents for a guitar. He literally changed lives. And then you have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where Kiss was inducted in 2014. They just perfectly sum up his legacy: the sound, the spectacle, and the persona. It really cements his place not just in the hearts of millions of fans, but in the official history books of music. So yeah, him leaving Kiss, It did way more than just change the band's lineup. For so many fans, it really felt like the end of an era, and it left this huge hole in the story of rock and roll. But here's the thing, that wasn't the end of his story. Not by a long shot. After leaving Kiss, Ace launched a really successful solo career, especially with his band Frehley's Comet. It proved he wasn't just a sideman. His musical identity was strong enough to carry him as a frontman and a creative force all on his own. And this quote from the man himself, it really just says it all. It gets right to the heart of what made him a genius. He wasn't trained, he wasn't polished, he was pure instinct. Everything I do is vibe and feeling. That whole philosophy is what made his playing so damn exciting, and it's what still inspires guitar players everywhere. So how is rock history going to remember the Spaceman? Is he the flashy showman with the smoking guitar, the blues rock gunslinger who inspired an entire generation, or the cosmic character who helped turn Kiss into a global phenomenon? The answer, of course, is all of it. He was all of those things, and his absolutely electrifying legacy will never, ever be forgotten.